Perfect. Ahoy, mateys, and welcome back to another episode of Shore Leave, where these two sailors are taking a chance to kick back, absorb the local color, and talk about some anime and some Japan-related topics. I'm your host, Kaliban.
And I'm your co-host, Mikan Hana.
And we're here to take up an hour of your time as we talk about Japan-related topics. We might be running out of things that rhyme with make at this point, so we're going to have to change that bit. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Harried.
Harried?
That is to say, pressed upon by forces and things and pressured. But otherwise, I'm okay. And I've got two different mice.
Two different mice? Why?
Do they make left-handed mice?
They must.
God does.
What?
God does.
Is a mouse a southpaw? I need to know.
Yeah, I think so. But otherwise, yeah, I'm fine. And you're good too.
I am good too.
And hopefully our audience is good and out there as well. And just chime in, audience. As you're watching here on Twitch and on YouTube, welcome. Thanks for joining us for this ongoing experiment. We are streaming live this Shore Leave episode, and we'll be watching the chat throughout the show. If you haven't yet, take this chance to subscribe to us here on Twitch by hitting the heart icon. Click the bell icon, too, so that you get notified when we are live and broadcasting in the future. And same thing goes for YouTube. Give us a sub on YouTube if you're on YouTube, if you haven't yet. It really does help with the engagement. And when you get a chance, check out our About page here on Twitch or also on YouTube. And we've got a donation link, too, if you want to send us a tip on Twitch or a super chat on YouTube. That would be so amazing. Say, did you hear the news?
What news?
It's official.
What's
it's
official?
Finally official.
What?
Sailor Moon S is available on Blu-ray. The entire set, remastered,
nice.
New dubs, you name it, they got the whole thing.
Okay, great. I gotta be honest, I didn't know that we were waiting on.
Oh, I don't care. You know, you think in this day of streaming that you don't have to own any media, and you're going to find out.
I think that's wrong.
When the streaming Mad Max era starts. And I don't mean they're streaming Mad Max. I mean, like, when we're all thirsty for do not become accustomed to streaming, for you will resent its absence.
Right. And I think that is a good warning to put out there. And
yeah, I'm good at warning people about things.
You know, and like also I just want to collect the series, you know, eventually, you know, all of it. I have some of it. I had a lot of it on VHS, which I don't have anymore.
Yeah, see, that's the thing about media impermanence.
Yeah, and I had some of like the original VHS Sailor Moon 90s North American releases that had like cool holographic covers. And I got rid of them. I am so mad at myself.
Well,
like, just hold on to it. What are you doing?
If they're VHS, I mean, it doesn't matter anyway, right?
No, it doesn't.
You know, go to that weird house in town that's got the sign, they've had it for 25 years. You know, we put VHS on DVD.
Yeah, right.
Two completely obscure and obsolete technologies at this point. So, but anyway, it is definitely available now on Blu-ray. And, of course, they're using the brand new remasters and subs and dubs that you'll see on YouTube on Viz's channel. So a lot of people are really excited about the remasters. I think if you can get, and obviously if all you've got is an old VHS or a bad Criterion Collection copy, you want a better copy. But like something about the remastering process, they take out that grain. I kind of like the grain.
Yeah, there's
something about when I'm seeing the grain, I'm thinking like I'm in my basement, I'm watching some anime, you know?
This is real.
Don't clean them up too much.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's like that Jesus picture, you know, that the lady like ruined because she restored it, and then he's like, oh, it's like
he looks like he's melting.
Clayface Jesus.
You don't want that.
That's a little too much restoration.
Yeah.
You don't want that much.
No, you don't.
Well, why don't we just get right into it and get started for this week? What do we want to talk about this week? What do you got?
So I wanted to talk about, and this is going to be brief history of soy sauce and its Japanese variations. So, but this is, you know, as I started researching this, I was like, I could do a whole Kuro Kuromiro about this, but we're doing it here. So anyways, soy sauce, or jangyo in Mandarin, was created in its current form I mean, Wikipedia says about 2,200 years ago. I don't know how 100% accurate that is. There was soy paste that
so the first emperor of China is like, this should be liquid.
Yeah.
Kill those guys. You guys are up.
I'm not 100% sure. It's old. And
that's how old the first emperor of China
I know. But Wikipedia says a Western Han Dynasty is about when it came out.
Sure.
Soy sauce's predecessor
was one of the missions in Dynasty Warriors.
Was it?
Yeah, you got to run the soy sauce out.
Are you serious?
No.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm supposed to put that face on.
I got a little excited there.
I'm joking.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
I'm gullible. Soy sauce's predecessor was a paste called zhang in Mandarin. So this is what I was talking about. This is at least 2,200 years old.
Okay.
Zhang paste came about by pickling food in salt to preserve it, which was, a really important thing to do in cultures all around the world because, your food, we don't have refrigeration and we want food to last a long time.
Sure.
So Zhang varieties ran the food gamut. There was meat and fish, meat only, fruits, vegetables, seaweed, and grains. And the grain variety was made with rice, wheat, soybeans, and salt. And that is the predecessor for soy sauce.
Okay.
And during the Zhou dynasty, which was 1046 to 256 BCE of ancient China, fermented fish with salt was used as a condiment in which soybeans were included during the fermentation process.
Is this when the paste was? Because that's 3,000 years ago.
That predates the paste.
Oh, okay.
But soy sauce is already in, or soybeans are already in the mix for fermentation process.
Okay, they're eating the fish and they're like, if this was pastier.
Yes.
I don't know. Let it go.
Yes. So then the soybeans were included in that, and then by the time the Han Dynasty came around, which was 2006 BCE to 206 BCE. I added an extra zero.
Going even farther back.
Yeah, right. To 220 CE was replaced with a recipe for soy paste and its byproduct soy sauce, so Wikipedia says, by using soybeans as the principal ingredient, with fermented fish-based sauces developing separately into fish sauce. So according to Wikipedia, it's pretty widely accepted, not just Wikipedia, that soy sauce originates from China. Mm-hmm. And, went to a lot of other countries in throughout Asia, obviously. And different varieties come from different countries. But it's I think maybe it did come from China. It's unclear because the way it comes to Japan which is what I'm getting to, as in a miso paste recipe. Mm-hmm. So that's how it comes to Japan. So maybe there was a Chinese soy sauce that goes back that far.
Okay.
So it is thought that the history of Japanese soy sauce dates back to 1254, when Zen priest Shinichi Kakushin came back to Japan from China. Kakushin brought back instructions on how to make kinzanji miso, which is a variety of miso paste that is made by fermenting mostly summer vegetables. And I was reading descriptions of it, and it's kind of like a chunkier miso. like maybe has like a little bit of the vegetables in it still, like, if that makes sense.
Extra chunky.
Yeah. I don't know, sounds good. I'd give it a try. I love miso. But within so basically this priest, he comes back to Japan and with his recipe for this miso paste. And he he becomes the chief priest of this small town called Yuasa, which still exists today. And the discovery of soy sauce in Japan was an accident. As the story goes, Kakushin was teaching the miso making process to the villagers of Yuasa, which is in Wakayama Prefecture. And he noticed that the liquid trickling out of the paste during this process was delicious. So they would like weigh it down with like stones. A lot of people
just willing to try strange liquids that they haven't seen before.
Right. It reminds me of Mulder on X-Files. He's like, Mulder, that's from an alien. That's alien goo. What are you doing? Anyways.
Southern aliens.
Yeah.
Spicy.
But there's another version that says that it was the miso makers who discovered the delicious dark liquid collecting in the tubs.
Oh, no.
Yeah, during the fermentation process.
I guess.
Yeah.
I just took a lettuce out of my refrigerator, though, in its bag that had, like, brown liquid in the bottom. And I would have been like, lettuce juice. Let us sample it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, it's gross. It's gross.
I'm not a visionary.
Yeah. Regardless, Yuasa is considered the birthplace of Japanese soy sauce. And within several years of first discovering soy sauce, Yuasa was transfigured from being a small stop on the Kumano-Kodo pilgrimage route into Japan's soy sauce capital. At its height, the tiny town of Yuasa, which had, at least back in the day, had around 1,000 houses, there were like 90 soy sauce breweries among those houses. So in other words, it was about one soy sauce brewery per 10 houses.
But like stills, right? Like small two-man operations.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, I mean, probably not, like today.
The Sin City game
not a
has
warehouse.
Gone so wrong.
Not a warehouse.
just giant bottles.
Right. And today in the the old part of the city is like protected by Japan, and it's like a protected area, so you can't tear down the buildings, or like there's restrictions and that sort of thing.
Sure.
And within that 300 and so buildings, there's like 5 or 6 soy sauce brewery company still, and the miso paste, the original miso paste makers. So the tradition lives on. Records of the Dutch East India Company list soy sauce as a commodity in 1737, when 75 large barrels were shipped from Dejima, Japan to Batavia, present-day Jakarta, on the island of Java. 35 barrels from that shipment were shipped to the Netherlands. So that is possibly the first record of it being imported to other countries. Although I did see that, it also went to mainland Asia as well.
Okay.
So, but there's so many different kinds of soy sauce.
Yeah.
So, traditional soy sauces are made by mixing soybeans and grain with mold cultures, such as, that's what it is. It's fermented.
I had to throw it all in there.
Yeah, well, such as Aspergillus orzae. And other related microorganisms, and yeasts that result in the mixture called koji in Japanese. And honestly, when you look at like other things that are talking about this fermentation process and they're talking about soy sauce, most of the time they're using the Japanese term for it. They're using koji most of the time. Huh. Yeah. The term koji is used both for the mixture of soybeans, wheat, and mold, as well as for the mold itself. Historically, the mixture was fermented naturally in large urns and under the sun, which was believed to contribute extra flavors. Today, the mixture is placed in a temperature and humidity controlled incubator chamber. So it's very much controlled. So Professor Emeritus Eiji Ichishima of Tohaku University proposed in 2004 that koji should be named Japan's national fungus. You know, like we
National
have
bird.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right.
In the journal, and he proposed this in the Journal of Brewing Society of Japan because of its importance not only for making the koji for sake brewing, but also so there are different kinds of koji. There are different kind of molds.
Okay.
It's used in sake brewing. It's used for making miso paste. It's used for making soy sauce.
Okay.
So it's major.
This is the juice.
And it's just like a huge range of traditional Japanese foods. And his proposal was approved by the society at their annual meeting 2 years later.
Oh, they like that
so,
idea.
Yeah.
Right.
They're like, so koji is their national fungus. So now you know.
What's the mascot look like?
Great question. I don't know. There should be one. I didn't come across one, but there should be one. Shoyu is officially divided into 5 main types by the JAS, or Japanese Agricultural Standard, depending on differences in their ingredients and method of production.
Okay.
These types are koikuchi, usukuchi, tamari, sashikomi, and shiro. Koikuchi, or thick taste, is what it literally translates to.
Okay.
Originated in the Kanto region, and its usage eventually spread all over Japan. And this is like the vast majority of what is made in Japan. It's like 80% of the Japanese domestic soy sauce production is of koikuchi, and it can be considered, it's basically the typical Japanese soy sauce.
Thick taste.
If you had like if you go to a sushi restaurant, it's most likely going to be koikuchi soy sauce, some variation on your table. And it's made from roughly equal parts soybeans and wheat. So, an equal quantity of both.
Okay.
So usukuchi, which translates to thin taste,
Okay.
is almost 14% of soy sauce produced and in Japan, and it is particularly popular in the Kansai region of Japan because Kansai has to be special. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I love Kansai. So I spent a lot of time in Kansai.
We eat our soy sauce like this. We fold it over and then
but it matures for less time than koikuchi, and it is both saltier and lighter in color.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Like a beige-ish ochre?
Like not as dark
Not
as
that
like
really
you
dark
think of as the soy
cola
sauce.
brown.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Tamari, which is made in the Chubu region of Japan, is darker in appearance and richer in flavor than koikuchi. It contains little or no wheat. So wheat-free tamari can be used by people who have gluten allergy.
Okay.
So, which is good to know.
Is this the dark soy sauce? I have a bottle of dark soy sauce because I needed it for a recipe. It was a huge bottle. And it's like, it's not as pleasing to my palate so it just sits in my fridge.
Yes.
Growing darker.
It might be, it might be the dark,
Okay. Because
probably.
In America, they're just like, it's dark. But maybe we could look at the characters and see if it was, it's tamari.
I'd have to look at it to be, right. I'll be right back. But tamari is more viscous than koikuchi shoyu.
That sounds like it.
Okay, all right. So it's probably that. Of soy sauce produced in Japan, 1.5% is tamari. Tamari is the quote-unquote original Japanese soy sauce, as its recipe is the closest to the soy sauce that seeped out of the kinzanji miso.
Maybe because less wheat?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the term tamari is derived from the Japanese verb tamaru, which means to accumulate, referring to the fact that tamari was traditionally a liquid byproduct made during the fermentation of miso.
Okay.
So
give me some of that accumulate.
Yeah, I know, right?
Dripping out of there. That was good.
Yes. Kadocho was established in 1841, and it is one of the oldest soy sauce breweries in Yuasa, and the capital, again, of soy sauce. And their tamari soy sauce is as close to the original Japanese soy sauce that you can find. Shiro soy sauce means white in Japanese. In contrast to tamari soy sauce, Shiro uses mostly wheat and very little soybean. And it has a very light appearance, and it has a sweet taste. And of soy sauce production in Japan, 0.7% is Shiro.
Sounds like that white barbecue sauce.
Yeah. Saishikomi, which it means twice brewed, is a variety that substitute previously made koikuchi for the brine normally used in the process. So consequently, it's much darker and more strongly flavored. That, I wonder... So I wonder if the sauce that we have is it tamari or is it the twice brewed? I don't know.
Yeah, they're both, yeah.
But this type is also known as kanro shoyu, or sweet soy sauce. No. Okay. Of soy sauce. Grounds. Okay. Of soy sauce production in Japan, 0.8% is saishikomi. And so those are the top 5. There are way more varieties. Okay. Right. So, and then of course there are variations within that, because all soy breweries have like their own recipe. You know, if they've been doing it a really long time, this is a tradition that's passed down for years and years, you know. So it's just fascinating stuff.
Is there like a Heinz of soy sauce? Like a brand that everybody's like, because I mean, like, I think like Kikkoman, right?
Yeah, that's what I think of too.
Yeah.
That's what it is in America. That's a really good question that I don't know the answer to.
Do Japanese people like Heinz ketchup? If they don't, you show them Matt LeBlanc.
Yeah.
Catching, you know, getting some on his hot dog.
Okay, so I'm trying
they'll be on board.
Remember if I saw Heinz when I was in Japan or not.
What do they have at, it doesn't, fast food. Actually, fast food would.
I went to McDonald's.
Because you went to McDonald's, they've got a contract with Heinz, probably. So unless it's completely distasteful to the Japanese palate. And it's very sweet, so they
like
probably love
ketchup.
it.
They put ketchup on omu rice.
Well, then
I don't know if they like Heinz.
That you didn't see like a Heinz ketchup commercial, or maybe there's some Japanese ketchup syndicate that's been around since, you know, the Dutch introduced it to them in like the 17th century.
It might be there.
Big ketchup.
Yeah.
Ketchup.
I don't remember seeing it as only like I didn't buy it while it was there because I didn't.
Yeah, what would you put it on?
Well, I know, but like I had.
You just watch your host family go, ah! He's like, give me that sushi.
Well, so I stayed with the host family for a little bit, but when I was there in college, I stayed on campus and everything, and I could cook for myself.
You had to go after you put the ketchup on the sushi. You're like, oh.
So yeah, exactly. They kicked me out. That's what happened.
Get out. Line here, house, tree, swoop out.
Oh my god. That's get out.
Crammed in bed. Honeymooners. The honeymooners in Japan. All
yes. Right. They're the kanji for what? Like the word what? W-A-T.
Like what?
Yeah, nani. The kanji for nani.
Yeah.
So my friends and I had like kind of an in-joke we had because it kind of looks like a house. So we called it the house of what? You know, it helps you remember and that sort of thing.
Cute.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, that's that. What are you going to talk about?
Well, thank you. That was that really seasoned things up, I think, for this show. I wanted to talk about something that has been on my mind for a while, and recently, with Barbie in theaters,
oh boy,
and female empowerment on everybody's mind, at least for the next few weeks, I thought that it'd be a good time to talk about a Japanese movement that embraced female empowerment and the way that movement influenced Japanese popular culture. You've got Bozuzoku, Fujiyoshi, Gongoro, Gyaru, Lolita. There's a lot of Japanese subcultures.
Right.
Some of which we've talked about on Sailor Noob. Today I wanted to take a closer look at a subculture that took Japan by storm in the 1970s and the 1980s. But it's one that's all but extinct today.
Okay.
And that subculture is Sukeban.
What is Sukeban?
Sukeban, or Sukeban, as it's pronounced often in the West, means delinquent girl.
Oh, yeah.
A female tough.
Got it. This is what Makoto was originally going to be.
I'll get there.
Okay.
I didn't dump all my soy sauce knowledge on you at the beginning of. I don't know anything about soy sauce.
All right.
And that word refers to either the leader of a girl gang or the gang itself. This doesn't mean like an individual tough.
Right.
I don't really know what that word is. It means girl boss.
Sure.
Is what it means.
Yeah.
And Sukeban is the female equivalent of the bancho, or the
Okay.
male juvenile tough.
Right. He's got bandages around his waist.
We've talked about it on the show before.
Yeah.
The bancho were originally popular in the mid-20th century Japan, and the use of the word became increasingly rare in the 70s and 80s, and it became like old-fashioned, like calling somebody a greaser or a preppy or something like that.
Okay. Sure.
Not really a thing anymore.
No, it's not.
Sukeban, however, waxed as bancho was waning, and Sukeban gangs in real life became more prevalent as male gangs died out. Mm-hmm. Yay, feminism? Bancho gangs were known to like take over schools. And basically that just means like, this is our school. This is our turf. We're going to defend this school. Oh, we got to go to class. Whereas Sukeban gangs started out as smaller groups of girls, like smoking in the girls' room, shoplifting. And the gang sizes could range from, there was one called the Tokyo United Shoplifters.
Okay.
Oh, Japan and your organizing, which was 80 members. And it could go all the way to the Kanto Women's Delinquent Alliance, which had 20,000 members in this gang.
Holy cow.
And all of this is in
How
real...
is that one
This
gang?
is all in real life. Well, there's probably sub-gangs or whatever. But at one point in the 80s, the public feared Sukeban gangs so much that Japanese police distributed pamphlets with police sketches of certain girls because they're dangerous. They were smoking in the girls' room. And they described their fashion choices as omens of downfall. There's your show title. Right? That's your Sukeban girls' show title, Omens of Downfall. Here are some of those omens. Sukeban members would dye their hair blonde or light brown or brighter unnatural colors, like pink, green, things like that.
Maybe that's why you can't dye your hair.
They
in
would
Japan
wear
now in school.
Well, yeah, and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to show you some pictures. I'm going to have to move my monitor, I think, so you'll be able to see it.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes.
Okay. So, and the audience can see them too. But they would wear modified school uniforms.
Okay.
With colored socks.
Oh my God!
Unfortunately,
colored socks.
Most of the pictures are in black and white because it was a long time ago.
Colored socks in black and white.
They would roll up their sleeves, and they would often have skirts that were longer than the usual school uniform.
Yes.
Which was a rebellion against the popular miniskirt trend of the 1960s. Mm-hmm. Sukeban, secret trads.
I don't think so. They're rebelling against that.
When the trads and the triads have a rumble, that's confusing. They would often embroider gang symbols on their skirts.
Oh, really?
Or like messages and things like that.
Huh.
And figure this out, they would often roll up their shirts to show a little midriff.
Wow. That seems early for that. Because I think of like the 90s.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like no legs.
I mean,
tummy's fine.
This kind of almost looks like the 90s though.
Some of these pictures are more recent. Yeah.
Okay.
They would wear Converse sneakers, Chuck Taylors, and they would have handmade badges or buttons, or even like coasters or beer mats. They would just pin button-like things to themselves, to stand out.
Sure. Right.
They wore very little
Pieces
makeup.
of flair.
They had very thin eyebrows, and sometimes they wear surgical masks. And for weapons, they preferred razor blades and chains, things that they could hide in their skirts, and the classic bamboo practice sword or the shinai.
Wow. Okay.
The thing about the Peaky Blinders is that they won't go up against the Sukeban. No, they'll blind you with their razor blades. Try to get a little Oppenheimer in with the Barbie.
I think, sure. I think when you're watching an anime or reading a manga and there's a character that is coded as Sukeban or, she's a rebel, watch out, often they have a longer skirt. You will notice Makoto's uniform has a longer skirt.
You will notice that.
Yeah.
She does have a longer skirt. And of course, you've talked before on the show about how she was kind of originally conceived as I don't want to say troubled, but a girl with a more of a checkered past.
Yeah, she was a
Let
smoker
me tell you about
originally.
Fighting for the Moon, kid. It's not what it's cracked up to be. And of course, that was, sort of tamped down a little bit for this children's show.
Yeah,
but a lot of those elements are still there, and they never explain why her skirt's longer. She goes to a different school, but now she's here wearing the same uniform. Whatever. They never go to school anymore.
No.
So yeah, she was influenced by that. Another influence that you can see in anime is Ryuko from Kill la Kill. And a lot of the things, the midriff thing mostly.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And a lot of the things in Kill la Kill are kind of influenced by that. I mean, she's kind of like a, girl from the wrong side of the tracks, goes to this school, is fighting against this like elite. There are some characters in the anime, which I'm not actually all that familiar with, who are kind of based, they wear like these white uniforms that are based on some characters in another show that we'll talk about. That was a Sukeban thing.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, this continues to influence things, but we'll talk about when it was actually happening. Every Sukeban gang had their own rules, but breaking them meant punishment. Punishment could be doled out for offenses like stealing another gang member's boyfriend, or girlfriend, I guess.
Right.
Fraternizing with other gangs. Sororitizing?
Sororitizing?
Well, it's not fraternizing.
Oh. Yeah, I guess.
Getting caught doing drugs or disrespecting the boss.
Getting caught doing drugs.
Yeah.
That's the operative word.
You guys all doing drugs? Don't let me catch you doing it.
Yeah, right.
You're going to do it, though.
Yeah.
A light punishment could be a cigarette burn on the arm. A heavier punishment could be a cigarette burn in a more uncomfortable place.
Oh, dear God.
And you have to imagine that there was just a good old-fashioned helping of beatings going down as well. Sukeban gangs got up to shoplifting, street violence, and some drug use like huffing. Apparently they were into huffing paint, huffing glue.
Okay.
Stimulants.
Maybe it's like one of those things where you kind of talk yourself into like, this isn't really a drug. It just gets me high.
It just smells good.
Yeah, right.
I was putting a mobile together and oh boy.
I don't know.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
What's it all about, man? Why so Sukeban? Sukeban has been compared by some to the early punk, the female punk, and the riot girl movements, which it actually predates. Girl power before it was co-opted by the Spice Girls and by Barbie movies. Punk subculture grew out of anti-authoritarian and anti-consumerist beliefs, but it wasn't particularly female or feminist punk. And the riot girl movement was itself a reaction against the chauvinism of punk, and it was an expression of third wave feminism against misogyny in culture and in music. And Sukeban represents a similar cultural reaction. The sexual revolution and the loosening of the gender norms in Japan for them was good, but they saw it as and it was an increased focus on women as sexual objects. So it wasn't just a woman as a wife, geisha is for fun. It's like now all women are like, hey, check it out.
Right.
And so the Sukeban sought to challenge the perceptions of well-behaved women in society. And this is a big part of why they altered and personalized their seifuku, or their uniforms. They were seeing the uniforms as both sexualizing and conformative. You have to wear this, and we have to see your legs.
Right.
And you have to wear the socks, because that, I don't know, it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
So they individualized their uniforms, and they made them less sexy, or at least as sexy as they felt like being.
Right. I think that's completely fair.
As far as Japanese crime stories go, women are almost completely absent from Yakuza stories. And of course, in the real Yakuza, there's like women have no power.
Yeah.
And they hold no authority in that world. And so Sukeban was seen as a movement of liberation, not only in that particular cultural genre, but against sexism in Japanese society at large. How did that work out? Well, like many avant-garde or forward-thinking movements that attract public attention, Sukeban got appropriated by mainstream entertainment, just like punk and riot girls before them, and banchos. So I'll leave them out. Both bancho and Sukeban characters appeared in seinen manga in the early 70s as part of the Yankee or delinquent genre, and we talk about that in our most recent animetification episode about Great Teacher Onizuka, if you want to hear more about that.
Right.
The first manga to feature a Sukeban character, it's a bit of a toss-up, because in the same week in 1974, 2 manga debuted with Sukeban in their titles.
Wow. Okay.
There's Sukeban Arashi,
Okay.
or Delinquent Storm, by Masami Kuramada,
Okay.
and Oira Sukeban, or I'm a Delinquent, by Go Nagai.
Kona guy.
So Arashi follows Rei Kojinyama, who is a nunchaku-wielding tomboy who causes mayhem at her school, and Oira Sukeban is the story of Banji Suke Banji, wrong. Nice work.
Oh my God, really?
Who is a boy who joins an all-female school disguised as a girl after being framed for a crime he didn't commit. So it's just like
Oh, well,
Kung
okay.
Fu bosom buddies, I guess.
I guess.
Also, does he have a shock of red hair? And is there a purple bat lady in it?
Apparently,
of course.
yes.
It's a Go Nagai manga.
Yeah, yeah.
So neither of these are really about girl gangs. They mostly follow a character who's either a girl or is disguised as a girl who's not fitting in around here.
Yeah.
The first breakout Sukeban manga title in shoujo manga was probably Sukeban Deka, or Delinquent Girl Detective. It was first serialized in Hana to Yume magazine from 1975 to 1982.
Okay.
It stars 16-year-old Saki Azamiya, who, in order to avoid prison, makes a deal with the police to go undercover in Japanese high schools.
Nice.
And she's given a metal yo-yo that serves as both her weapon and her badge. So she's
versatile.
She's undercover for the cops. It's kind of a Niju Uichi Jump Street.
Okay. Yeah, right. I was thinking about 21 Jump Street.
She gets it.
Yeah. Took me a second. Yeah,
also,
right. That's what I was thinking of.
There's also another one that's called Tales of Yakujita College.
Okay.
Which is a little bit of a twist on it. It's like based on a 19th century novel, Tokai Dochu Hizakurige.
Okay.
Which is about like these two rough and tumble characters who get into trouble, but they've sort of transplanted that to the Sukeban genre. And so it's these two girls who are in a similar situation where they're going undercover in Japanese high schools to fight gangs.
Huh. Okay.
And they
Interesting.
fight Yakuza, and they fight many, many, many ninjas.
I like the one with the glasses looking at you narrowly. She kind of reminds me a little bit of Bayonetta.
Oh, the teacher.
Yeah.
BDSM teacher.
Yeah.
Someday we'll dig into that.
Yeah, right.
And then there's Hana no Asuka Gumi, or The Glorious Asuka Gang, which was published from 1985 to 1995, and I will talk about that one in a second.
All right.
Sukeban had been seen in Japanese films and TV since it first appeared in the 1970s. And at that time, they were featured mainly in Pinku, or Japanese grindhouse cinema.
Okay.
You can imagine like
that
the
seems like it fits.
Catholic Girls Gone Bad, type of genre. Pink film director Norifume Suzuki made a 7-film series in the 70s called the Girl Boss series, which featured Pinky Violin actresses Reiko Ike and Miki Sugimoto, as well as a 4-film series, Terrifying Girls High School, which I think was turned into a TV show as well, that had some Sukeban characters. These are all Toei productions, by the way.
Interesting.
But I want to talk specifically about the Sukeban TV shows of the 1980s, when it really reached its full cultural saturation.
Okay.
And there's 3 shows in particular that I want to visit.
Sure.
The first is the television adaptation of Sukeban Deka.
Okay.
Which had 3 seasons, 2 anime OVAs in the 90s, 3 live-action films, as well as 3 manga spin-offs that are still going on today.
Okay.
They started in 2021, but they're recently sort of rebooted. The first TV series stars Yuki Saito as Saki Asamiya, a juvenile delinquent who agrees to be an undercover cop in high school when the police offer to postpone her mother's execution.
Oh my God.
Her mother's accused of killing her father.
Okay.
I watched the first episode.
Yeah.
And in it, Suki is sent to Takanoa High School to investigate the administration of the high school.
Uh-huh.
When she first gets there, it's a real Mean Girls vibe. There's a trio of harpies called the Mizuchi sisters, and they're making her life hell. And Saki and another number of other students are like sponsored students, which is to say that their families are poor, and they've been taken in by the school in exchange for a government subsidy.
Sure.
So they're like bussed in.
Right.
And they have to wear these little badges, which is supposed to be like, oh, it's good because we're these kind of students, but it just makes them targets for the other students.
Right. That's what I was, yeah, exactly.
For the rich, snobby girls, yeah. And Sagi has to put up with a lot of abuse from them. And, you know, it's stuff like, oh, do you want some pudding? Oh, you dropped it. Now clean it off my skirt.
Oh, my God.
And stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And Saki's having a bad time. But one night, a mysterious man appears in her room. Let me finish.
Please do.
A man named Jin, who is her police contact, and he gives her a special metal yo-yo and some spying equipment. And so using this equipment, Saki learns that the administrators of the school are forcing the transfer students to cheat on their exams so they get higher grades. And then when that happens, they get more money from the government. The government's like, oh, you're doing it. You made these kids smart.
Okay.
But they're like making them like cheat on these tests.
Okay.
And if you're the kid, you're like, great, I get an A and I get a good job. But no, this is about honor and integrity. So we're not doing that.
This is Japanese. This is about honor.
And also they're like pocketing the money. They're not going to like build a bigger pool or something. This is embezzlement.
They're not putting it back into
No, it's not going into the school.
Yeah, right.
So Saki finds out, she gets the secret documents, et cetera, et cetera. And the poor students get to read out everybody involved on the plan, on the PA.
Oh, wow.
So they shame the bitchy rich students as well.
Good.
And I got to say, it was okay. I was expecting a little more from this series.
Okay.
I've only watched like the first episode of a lot of these. These shows aren't quite tokusatsu fare, but they tend to feature a lot of kung fu and explosions when they really get going. This one seems like a slow burn at this point. Like not a lot happens in this first episode.
Okay.
I'll call out Yuki Saito, the star, as being like really scary when she gets mad, and she's a really good anchor for the series.
Sure.
But just based off this episode and its low stakes plot, I could only give this one 3 cigarette burns out of 5. Now,
how long was the episode? That's great, by the way.
They're like, you know, a little over half an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I only watched the first episode, but things get really crazy as the series progresses. In the second season, the star Yuki couldn't return. So the new hero, brand new main character, Yoko Godai, is played by idol Yoko Minamino.
Okay.
And get this, when she joins the Sukeban Deka program, her code name becomes Saki Asamiya. That way they don't have to rewrite any scripts, I guess. This happens in the third series too. There's a new actress again.
Oh my God.
They still call it, see, it's like an alias, like James Bond.
Or the doctor.
Yeah. They're like, those Brits have a good idea.
It's not really an alias. He's
Two
the
things.
Same person,
we're driving on the left side.
Yeah, right.
And also, let's keep renaming this character.
Yes, and have other people play them. Yes, exactly.
So the main character gets 2 sidekicks in the second season too, and they have like marbles and scarf. They all have like these impractical like weapons. For the third series, Toei wanted to do a spin-off that would be based around ninjas and also reference Star Wars for some reason.
Okay.
Because it's the mid-'80s and Star Wars is just wrapped up and is popular still. But they scrapped that plan and they shoved all their ideas into the third season of Sukeban Deka. So season 3 stars idol Yui Asaka, who teams up with her 2 sisters to fight a psychic terrorist known as the Emperor. See how it ramps up?
What?
Make the first one like there won't be a second one. That's what I say.
Yes.
That way
absolutely.
I won't walk away.
And you're like, 3 out of 5 cigarette burns.
But later on, they're fighting laser ninjas, and it's Star Wars, and they're psychic, and so start with that.
Yes.
The second show that I checked out was called Hana no Asukagumi.
Okay.
And also the Glorious Asuka Gang. And
nice. I like the Band-Aids.
They took that advice about doing it all right away.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. This show has everything. Horses.
So
explosions.
Oh, my God.
Samurai teenagers. Victorian dolls. This is like Streets of Fire meets The Warriors meets Ron.
This sounds amazing.
It is. Like, I watched that first one and I was like, all right, they need a little time to cook. I started the second one and I was like, 5 minutes in, I was like, oh my God.
What is this one called again?
Hana no Asukagumi.
Okay.
It's based on a manga by Satosumi Takaguchi. Hana stars Megumi Odaka as Asuka, who is your average Japanese high school student. But forget that shit. The schools of Japan are at war. The show literally opens with a map of Japan, and then around Tokyo, it does the bonanza thing. It just starts burning.
Yes.
And a narrator explains that this wave of violence is the high school girl Sengoku period.
What?
Rival schools! Just mindless, blinding violence until it's time for clubs, and then we're back at it.
Yeah, right.
And we meet Asuka and her friend Sachi. They're on their way to school, and Sachi has, for some reason, this old heavy coin that she plays with. Like, it's made of 24 karat gold. Remember that. Anyway, right before class, they're going to class. A samurai rides up on a horse. Normal. Introduces herself as Kurenai and declares that their school now belongs to the Zenchurai Mafia, and they better get used to it.
What?
And Sachi's like, what? Get out of here. And Kurenai lassos her and drags her behind her horse.
Oh my God.
So Asuka grabs a rock and she throws it at Kurenai and hits her in the face, and it like scars her face. And this does not make Kurenai happy.
No.
Her goons show up and they take Asuka and Sachi away, and they presumably beat the shit out of them, or at the very least they burn them with a lot of cigarettes. And Asuka goes home and tries to kill herself.
What?
Tone switch. So
Yeah.
she's in the hospital, like fighting for life. As this is happening, this weird old man shows up to her bedside and tells her that she has to fight. He says that there's a wind that blows and the weak are blown away and the stupid try to defy it.
Okay.
And so something, we don't know what it is, but something happens. If it's magical or spiritual, we don't know, but she gets better.
Right.
So 3 months later, she goes back to school and things are way, way worse. She sees Sachi, and Sachi is like full on Sukeban pilled at this point. Like
Okay.
she's by a trash can fire on the school roof. Her uniform is all dirty. She's running with the Zenchurai.
Oh my gosh.
And Asuka tries to get her to leave this violent life, but Sachi says, don't be naive. The Zenchurai runs everything right now. And after tonight, I'm going to be in the upper level. And she runs off, and before Asuka can chase her, she's stopped by 4 ninja. The Furin-Kazan.
Oh my God.
And Furin-Kazan is like a version of the battle standard used by Takeda Shingen, the great general of the Sengoku period. So it's all these like historical things put in there. And so it's like the 4 characters make up that phrase. It's swift as the wind, gentle as the forest, fierce as fire, and unshakable as a mountain.
Okay.
And so these girls are all in like the warrior maiden costume, with the things, but they don't have weapons. They've got school-related magic powers. So one has like a recorder that shoots blow darts. So she like shoots a dart and like, hits her foot. She's like, what's going on? And the other one like throws paper airplanes that are razor sharp. She's got like a piece of paper and she throws it. Cuts her arm. And the third one just spits like flammable liquid everywhere and like starts things on fire. And the fourth one just stands there.
Oh, okay.
She's the mountain.
Okay.
I guess.
Makes sense.
And they're like, you better watch yourself, new fish.
Right.
They're putting the fear of God in her.
Right.
Well, whatever Sachi had planned, it doesn't go well because she shows up at Asuka's house that night, bleeding to death. And before she dies, she gives Asuka her coin, and she says she was glad they were friends. She says, the thing about justice didn't show up, did it?
Oh my gosh.
Well, Asuka's not happy about this, and she cuts her hair off.
Of course. That's
Actually, it's funny because she cuts part of her hair off, and then she goes to a salon, and she's like, can you do anything with this?
That's hilarious.
She says, give me Momo Yamaguchi's haircut. She was a pop idol at the time.
Okay.
So that night, the Zenchurai are all ready to add Asuka's school to their empire. They're having a big ceremony in the courtyard of the school. There's like bonfires. There's like rows of girl troops, all in armor. And, hold it right there. It's Asuka with cool short hair. She's got an unbelted kimono and bandages around her chest.
Oh my God, yes!
She's trouble.
Yes.
She says, you guys are on borrowed time. Because right now I'm announcing the glorious Asuka gang, a gang of one. Kurenai, the girl from the opening on the horse,
right,
who wears a mask now because her face is scarred.
Yeah, you can't see it.
She challenges her, but Asuka throws her gold coin and splits the mask right in half.
Nice.
And then the Zenchirai troops step forward, but Asuka opens her robe to reveal she's strapped with dynamite. She pulls out a lighter and she says, "This ain't no chocolate."
Oh my God.
And everybody backs off, and Kurenai appeals to the queen of the Zenchirai, who's standing silhouetted in the second floor window.
Uh-huh.
We don't see her face, but she's holding a porcelain baby doll.
Not weird or creepy at all.
And she communicates by she drops a note to the ground, like an engraved note that says, "Unsightly." Possibly referring to Kurenai's face or her performance in this crisis.
Yeah.
You know? So Asuka has won the day.
Yes.
The enemy retreats. And the episode ends with Asuka looking over the city at dawn on top of a building. She takes out one of her dynamite sticks, peels off the wrapper, and takes a big bite of chocolate. She bluffed them.
That's great.
She looks at her coin and thinks, "I will take to the heavens." I don't know how this could have been any better. And
That's amazing.
I have no idea how they can keep up this level of quality and drama, to be totally honest with you.
No kidding.
But I'm all in.
Yes.
And Megumi Odaka is so good as Asuka. She's so cute and pouty. Everybody's going so hard in this one.
That's awesome.
This is 5 cigarette burns out of 5.
Okay, great. So I've got a comment in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
Captain Pantsu Goblin said, "Oh man, I hope he hits Shoujo Commando Izumi."
And finally,
Is that next?
we come to
Is
my
that
beloved.
next? Yes.
The 1988 series, Shoujo Commando Izumi.
Yes.
Which apparently was supposed to be the 4th season of Sukeban Deka.
Really?
Yeah, the entire production of Sukeban Deka sounds like a total mess. But Shinji Wada, the mangaka who created it,
Yeah.
every single season he got more and more mad about, like, laser ninjas, what is all this crap?
I never wanted this.
And he didn't like any of the changes that they made, so
Sure.
apparently he was not into it, and so they just took their ideas and made a totally different show, new premise.
Right.
Here's the premise. Actress Izumi Igarashi plays Izumi Goto. Izumi is, by all accounts, a totally normal girl.
Yes.
But maybe on the wrong side of the tracks. She is involved in some bad things, some bad stuff goes down, and a girl dies. And she is blamed for it, and the police are after her.
Mm-hmm.
And she, in order to escape and to save her life, throws herself into the ocean, and she is presumed dead. Yada, yada, yada. We don't know exactly what happens, but she is then absconded, taken up by this shadowy organization who has done this to other people. Mm-hmm. You know, the castaway youth of society. The real banchos and the skibans.
Right, right.
And they, over the course of a few years, brainwash her and help her unlock the secret powers of the human body through the technique of biofeedback.
Right.
And then,
which I love.
as the story opens, the first half of the first episode is her, like, Solid Snake, like, breaking out of her prison.
It's amazing.
And, like, sliding down zip lines and, like, kung fuing guys. And then the titular image is her, shooting this bazooka, blowing up a truck, and not even looking at the explosion,
Yes.
just completely walking
Yes.
away. Well, she gets back to society and back to Tokyo because she wants to find out, who these people are. She wants revenge. Or she doesn't know. It's kind of an Incredible Hulk thing. She doesn't really know what she wants out of this. And she basically gets wrapped up with this group of girls, the sort of Skiban girls of this show, who hang out at Hamburger Bar. And they are led by Keiko, played by Yumi Tsushida. And they're like, just like tough girls, but they're kind of aimless. Mm-hmm. And over the course of the show, like, she becomes friends with them. They help her try to integrate back into society. There is a detective that's chasing her down, and he's kind of like the Zenny character. He's like the kind of not so smart, but like kind-hearted detective is like, I'm gonna get you. Oh, you're all right. And I really love this show because of its dark themes. Like, there's a lot of lightness, and it's really silly sometimes, but despite that, it's a lot more grounded than some of the ninja-laden Sengoku action of the other Sukeban shows.
Sure, yeah. That's interesting, because I feel like it does go out there a lot of the time, too.
Yeah, and there's a great contrast because what do you want to do? Like, it's one thing to have a Japanese schoolgirl be like, oh, I just want to have fun, but oh god, I'm gonna hit somebody with my yo-yo. Mm-hmm. But she doesn't even know how to be a girl. She's like a Terminator, basically.
Yes.
She literally like goes and like punches through a wall.
Right.
And later she's like, is punching through walls all I'm good for? And she does have a happy ending, kind of. I won't ruin it. I have seen the entire show.
Yeah, me too.
There's some great fight choreography and some great staging in the episodes, but I think the quality of the show really drops off until it comes back in the last couple episodes. It's like the middle, they didn't really know what to do, and then they must have just blown the entire budget on like the last 2 or 3 episodes, which are just the guys that like their muscles inflate, and they're fighting, and she's like, taking them out, and then she fights the sunglasses guy who comes back from death like a couple times. He's like, what do I have to do to this guy? Throw him in a fire? Okay. So that's really great. I think that the public's want of Sukeban shows had really fallen off at that point.
Yes.
And so,
yes.
And apparently the ratings on is going to be really sucked, and which is why I didn't get a second season. Yeah. Like 88, 89 was like the end. It's like, no more. We're don't care about this anymore.
We don't want anymore.
Stop with the delinquent girls. Also, the band Ajari did the soundtrack for the show.
Yes.
And they show up in one episode as themselves.
Yes.
And then Azumi sings a song with them. And at that point, you're like, okay, you guys are kind of out of ideas.
That honestly was the episode that came in my mind when I was like, and that was the low point.
The show, it shouldn't be remembered for that.
No.
Izumi Igarashi is great as the title character.
Yes.
It's funny because she's so cute and she's got such a pretty smile.
Yes.
That she never gets to use in the show, but they use it in the marketing material. So when you see her, you're like, oh, this is going to be fun. And then you watch the show and it's like, oh no. It's just like killing people. And Yumi Tsushida is great as Kiko as well.
Yes.
She should have gone on to do a lot more. She did some more, but not much. But yeah, the stunts and fighting are great, and the story's compelling, but ultimately I think this is a 4 cigarette burns out of 5.
Really? A 4?
Based on one episode. Based on one episode.
The first episode?
Well, I guess I'm kind of thinking about the entire series.
How can you not?
The entire series, with all of its bumps and bruises and warts, but also high points, versus one perfect episode of Hana no Azumagami, or Asukagami.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that's unfair, well, biofeedback. So like a lot of counterculture movements, the people involved in counterculture movements grow up. They have kids.
Yes.
They settle down.
Yes.
And mostly, I think the lingering effects of Sukeban are seen in the sexualization that we still see in manga and anime today.
Yeah.
But feminist expression has spread to other forms of media and fandom, fashion and art. Think about cosplay. Everybody at the station, the famous station where they go. Shinjuku.
Not Shinjuku, Shibuya.
Shibuya
Crossing is what you're thinking of, right? With the crosswalks.
I'm thinking about people dressed up as goth leaders.
Oh, that's Harajuku is the neighborhood. Yeah.
Yeah. And like cons and just the fact that like female fans can like say I'm a fan without getting kicked out of the comic book store.
Yeah.
I think the spirit of Sukeban in a lot of ways is still alive today.
Definitely.
Biofeedback. So, yeah, I think that's it.
I think that is it.
But
yes.
Yeah, definitely, we're always looking for things to do on the Patreon when we run out of Neon Genesis Evangelion or whatever else we're doing. So, I don't know, maybe a little more Zumi or Samaska or something like that.
That would be amazing.
We'll see.
Yes. I did want to mention what we're going to be talking about next time. I was going to
cue you up for that.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Cue me up.
Captain Pantsu Goblin says, me watching TV at 10, watching the first episode of the show and seeing Izumi Igarashi for the first time. I think I like girls now. I can see that. She's got a cool look, too.
Yes.
I don't know where she got that leather jacket from, but she wears it everywhere.
Yes.
So I wanted to say before we talk about what's happening next week, thank you to everybody who's watching, and thanks to our patrons for your support. You know, we couldn't do the show without you; it just wouldn't exist. And I want to remind everyone, patron or no, that we have lots more Sailor Noob content available on the Patreon at patreon.com/Sailor Noob. If you want to support the show by becoming a patron, you can go to there. Also, if you don't want to become a patron but you want to support us still, you can give us a tip. Either through our links here in the About page, or you can go to ko-fi.com /JustEnoughTrope. And we'd love to have you. We've got a Discord as well, which is free to join. There's a link in the show notes or in our About page here on Twitch. And don't forget to subscribe here on Twitch before you go. Also, I stream video games every weekday at 12 p.m. here on Twitch. We have a weekly Star Trek show called Discoverage, which we do Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Central. So check all that out. It's all right here on twitch.tv, Just Enough Trope. Mika, what's our next episode going to be?
Yeah, next time we are talking about episode number 150 of Sailor Moon, Amazon Nesu, Kagami no Ura Kara Kita Akumu in Japanese. The Amazon Ness, Nightmare from Behind the Mirrors, the English translation, and the English title, A New Nightmare.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Like Freddy, Wes Craven.
That is probably what they were going for, yeah.
Well, okay, I'll get all my something bitch jokes out, and we'll get ready for that.
Okay.
If you're a fan of Japanese movies and tokusatsu shows, the Shin Kamen Rider movie is finally out in the U.S. It's available to stream on Amazon Prime, and we'll be talking about it this month for our Sailor Cinema episode. So if you're a Princess level patron, or if you're interested in becoming a Princess patron and hearing us talk about Shin Kamen Rider and other great films of Japanese cinema, and check that out too at patreon.com/Sailor Noob. And that is it for us for this shore leave. We'll see you next week when we make up for another episode of Sailor Noob. Wave bye.
Bye.